Good afternoon and welcome to this UniTaster Tuesday. My name is John. I'm here from UniTasterDays and today we're exploring university courses in music. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by Professor Laura Ritchie, who's joining us from the University of Chichester to provide an introduction to music courses, but as well as that, provide some application tips related to music and studying music at university as well. I'm always very conscious of these events. You're not tuning in to hear from me, you're tuning in to hear from our excellent speakers. So without further ado, if I can introduce Professor Laura Ritchie, who's a professor with the University of Chichester. Over to you, Laura.
If you're thinking about studying a course in music, that is wonderful. The next few years of your life, when you go to university, they are about really pursuing what you want to do. All the way through school, you've had to do lots of things, and that's gone more refined as you go. And this is really the chance to dive in to the bit that you want to do. Now, in this little session, I'm going to give you the advice that I give to anybody who comes to an open day at my own institution. And it's also the same advice that I gave to my own two children who are at university now. And I'm thinking about for my third child who's not there yet. So as we go, I want you to think what you're going to do. So the first thing to do is really think, what do you want to do? And I'm not joking here. Dream up your course. Be brave. Don't wait for somebody to tell you what to do. Think, what actually do you want to do? Think, not just music. Music's a really big word and it covers so much stuff. Everything from being a DJ to playing in a classical orchestra to teaching to working with the community to music therapy to being a composer, working as an arts administrator. There's so many things that you could do. What actually do you want to do? And you know what? You're probably going to be surprised because what you dream up may already exist as a course. That's the first thing. The next thing is you're going to have to go and find it. And that's going to take some looking on your part, but that's okay. I'm going to help you with a few tiny tips of how to do it. Then we're going to do some research. And the research sounds like a bit of hard work, but you know what? It pays off so much. And the last thing is go visit the place. And you may live really far away. When I was looking at studying music in this country, I was doing that from America. I was living pretty far away and coming as an international student. And I had to look at pictures. I looked online. I rang people up on the telephone. I talked to them. And I did go to the place and actually see what is it like. You can book open days. You can book a special visit. You can have a virtual tour. Now, online, most universities and conservatoires have a video tour that you can just click onto anytime you want. It's worth it. If you think of how old you are now and think of 3 or 4 years of your life, that's a pretty big percentage. That's how much time you're going to be spending at whatever place you choose to go to study music. So one question you may want to ask yourself is university or conservatoire? What's the difference? Well, there are differences and there aren't differences. The difference is in the name, that's the obvious one, and different places. Some of the conservatoires are called Royal, the Royal School of something, the Royal College of something, the Royal Academy of something, and universities are the University of something. Now, to get into these different places, you have to approach them through a different application process. If you go onto the UCAS website and look up courses for music, and you type in the Royal College of Music, you won't find it because it is located on the UCAS Conservatoire's website. And you'll see I put a little blurb on the slide that's actually taken from one of these conservatoires' websites that says, if you apply through the UCAS Conservatoires, here's what happens, and click here. Look up these things once you find a place that might interest you, because that will be different. With different places as well, some places will require an audition. Some universities, you simply apply through UCAS. That's it. You do what you need to with the application. You may have to write a personal statement, and we'll get onto some things to put in that later. Some places offer you an audition. Some places require an audition. If it's offered and not required, I suggest you do it. Again, you're going to spend a lot of your time at this place, and you may as well find out if it's the right place for you. So, when you're dreaming up your course, what kind of thing might you think of? Now, I've taken some screenshots from my own institution because we have a lot of different courses. Actually, if you asked me to tell you all the courses, I couldn't tell you from memory because there are so many. We have over 1,000 music students. They do lots of stuff. But just look at some of these names. Charity development, jazz performance, acting for film, music performance, musical theater with teaching, let's see, cabaret performance. I didn't even know you could do that. No, I did. But dream up things because you don't know what there might be. When you dream up your course, I want you to ask yourself, what do you enjoy? Don't wait to be told what to do. Don't necessarily do what somebody else expects you to do. What do you want to do? What kind of music do you like? Do you like to perform? Do you like to compose? Are you really interested in music history? Are you interested in theory? Are you interested in teaching? Are you interested in teaching in a classroom? Are you interested in teaching one-to-one and being a private teacher, running your own studio? Maybe you want to be a session performer or an orchestral performer. Maybe you want to work with musicians in the community who go and help people at perhaps young children's playgroups or in older people's homes. Maybe you want to work in hospitals and do something relating to music therapy. There are a lot of options. Maybe you want to work on the sidelines of music and work with music administration and running events. So there are any number of things that you could do. Again, really dream it up. Look for your course. Consider your own personal strengths and how you would want to grow. Now, once you find that course, you may find a couple of courses, and maybe not the exact course that you've dreamed up exists, but there might be something that's close. There might be 2 or 3 candidates, different places, different courses. Now is when you start doing the research. So I want you to think, what is in the course? What's it made up of? A typical university course has different modules. Now at school and college, you have classes, and you'll have classes in a subject area. So you may have your chemistry class and your physics class and your maths class, and they're each different subjects. Within music, you'll also have that. Sometimes you'll have different modules or classes that are based on a type of thing. So you might have a performance class. You might have a music history class that gives you more of a theoretical context about the history of music. For example, right now I'm teaching a class called Romanticism, and it looks at music in the 1800s. And I'm also teaching a class called The Structures and Politics of Rock. Now that's a very different class. And when you look into these different courses and find out what kind of classes make them up, that might influence your decision. You also want to find out, what's the place like? What are the facilities like? Will you be in small rooms? Will you be in big rooms? Will you have lots of different teachers? Will you have the fancy teachers? Or will everything be taught by teaching assistants? These are the kind of questions that you might not think of asking, but actually you need to ask. You're the one going to university. Your degree of study is about you, and you need to know what you're getting and choose the thing that best fits you and helps you to become what you want to become. So facilities, rooms, rehearsal space, practice rooms, computers, technology. What kind of programs are you going to use? Are there editing suites? Is that something you might need? Is there film equipment? Do you need that? Ask, think about these things. What kind of access do you have to the spaces? How are the courses run and taught? You need to think, if they're really large classes, is that something that will suit me? Because in some places, at some universities, you'll find that all of the students in one year, in the first year, for example, will take a class together. It's very common for people to have a musicianship skills or a music theory class or one of the first music history classes all together in a big group, maybe 100 students, maybe more. Now, in that setting, in some classes, that can be okay, because if it's largely a lecture without a lot of interaction from the student to the teacher, well, if you're in a big group, you can still get the gist of the course. But if it's a smaller group, and say, I'm teaching a class called one-to-one teaching, if that had 100 people in it, it wouldn't work very well. And if I was a student in that class and there were 100 of me, I'd be pretty cross. In that class, I have 20. Now, that's a good balance. It means I know everybody's name, I know what instrument they play, I know what they're doing and how they're getting on with that course. You want to ask those questions. What's the teacher to student ratio? How much time do you get with the teachers? That's the contact time. Now, for some people, that will translate into my lectures are X hours long for each class. I'm also going to have a seminar or a workshop that's X hours long. I'm expected to put in X hours of independent study for each class. It also refers to contact time in terms of lessons. I play the cello. Now, I would want to know as a student, how much time do I get with the cello teacher? Are these lessons included with the class, with my course? Do I get them every week? Do I have to plan them myself, or do I get told when they are and who they're with? If I'm playing in a group, like a chamber ensemble, do I get coaching? Is there anyone else who can help me? Are there any drop-in groups? Ask these questions, because the more you find out about what's on offer for you in your potential course, the more chance you have of signing up for the right one for you. Now, practical opportunities, that sounds vague. Now, by that, I mean both performance things, but as well, I mean things outside the things that you're required to do. In any course, you're going to find a list of classes you have to take to graduate. And yes, there will be requirements. You will find you have to write an essay, or you have to give a presentation, or you have to perform 10 to 12 minutes of music in the first semester. But there will be extra things that you can do, and finding out what's available to you can really tip the balance for one or another institution. Now, just because wherever you are now, you might not, say, have worn a glitzy costume and been on the stage like people in this picture, but that doesn't mean that you won't do it. Whatever you're at now is perfectly okay. At university, that's where you grow into what you're going to become. Don't be afraid of these wonderfully big opportunities. Embrace them. Think of them as challenges and something that actually it's like a buffet, and you can go and taste lots of different foods at the buffet. And one day you may just fill your plate and find it's really great, have a feast. So find out, what are the opportunities? Are there links with community groups? Are there links with educational opportunities for you to reach out and connect with other people, perhaps at other institutions, perhaps in local schools? Find out, ask. Now, when we get back to the idea of applying, okay, so you're probably going to have to write some sort of application. The application is going to include some sort of personal statement. Be honest, be yourself, and don't play down the things that you've done. If you have even a bit of experience, perhaps you've done some music in a local youth group, or at a church, or at a hospital, or even done a concert for your village. Those kinds of things are going to be worth writing down. Write down all the things that you've done. Maybe you did a radio show and you performed something live. That's super cool. Put your best foot forward. Make sure that you say who you are, what you want to do, what you're interested in, and what you want to get out of that degree. Because actually, on the receiving end, as somebody who gets applications, I'm interested in people who are really keen to be there, who are keen to grow and develop. It's fun when you get someone who's already really amazing, but actually it's more fun when you get people who think they can always get better. Because you know what? None of us are ever done learning. I know I'm not. And when you think you're done, you're done. So put your best foot forward in the written process for applying, but also if there's an in-person audition, really go for it. If you find it's a video audition or you're sending in a recording, think about it. What do people see in the space where you're recording? What's in your background? How are you projecting yourself? It can be a real challenge to record something at home and be performing just like you're on a stage when actually you're in your sitting room and you're not on a stage. Practice that. Practice that so that you really show your best work. When you do turn up at the audition, if it's a live one, bring your music. And if you have any accompaniment that you need, bring that too. Ask. Will there be someone to accompany me? If your music is a backing track, make sure that you have the right equipment, you've got a cable to connect, and you know the levels. If you've got a backing on your phone, a little tip, turn it on to airplane mode so nobody rings you up. Definitely, you don't want somebody to ring you up in the middle of a song. It's happened. And you know, as the person auditioning, technical problems happen, and that's okay. You can deal with them. But as the auditionee, the person who's in the middle of their performance, it can really throw you. And as you've practiced so hard to get there, and you've probably traveled some distance, and you may well be tired, you want to know it's going to go smoothly. So really, think about all the things that you can do in advance to plan. Once you do get there to visit that place, whether it's in person or in a virtual tour, really soak it in. Soak in the environment, talk to people. See if you can talk to some of the teachers. Actually, some of the best people to talk to are the people who work there all the time. Not just the teachers, but the catering staff, the grounds crew. These are the people who see that place every day. Right at dawn, at the end of the day, talk to the students. You're going to get a vibe for the place. And again, you're going to spend so much of your life there. These can be the absolute best years of your life. You may as well get the right place. So once you get there, you've chosen a place, you've applied, let's say you get in, we hope so. Once you get there, it's going to be different to school. You're going to find that people expect more of you. And it's not really expecting more, but it's expecting different. At school, usually you get told what to do. And at university, it's not like that. The purpose of you going to university or conservatoire is not for you to fill a desk and be a bum on a seat. It's for you to become something. And yes, at school, the teachers want to help you become something, but they're also bound in a different way by the curriculum. At university, we know, yes, you have to jump through some hoops to finish whatever class you're in, but we always hope that you go further. And what you're going to find is a lot of independent thought. Now, this picture, this young man here was one of my students, and he and I got invited to do presentations at the University of Limerick. Now, Chichester's in the bottom of England, where we're from. Limerick's in Ireland. We hopped on an airplane and he had to go do that. It was a challenge. And when he was in the place where you are, thinking of where he was going to go to university, I really do not think he thought he would be doing that. The opportunities you get are going to be wonderful and unexpected. But the more you put into it, the more you'll find you can achieve. There will be challenge, but you know what? Growth is always challenge, and you will get new skills. And I don't just mean like the technical, how to play the instrument. You're going to find you have skills in dealing with people, managing your time, understanding what are your strengths and weaknesses with learning. Do you procrastinate? Do you put something off? Oh gosh, do you have to write an essay and all you really want to do is play your cello? Well, you probably all don't want to play cello, but I'm going to pretend you do. So these things are going to be a challenge. You're going to do research. Even if you don't think you want to do research, you're going to do research at university. Now, under the picture of my student, you'll see I put Google Scholar there. Now, I know at school you've got libraries and fantastic resources. At university, I dare say you're going to have even more, because universities and conservatoires have subscriptions that go to libraries across the world. They go to magazines, journals. They have publications, books, ebooks, all sorts of things. Now, you can have a little play with this, because Google Scholar will get you an amazing amount of stuff, even just from home, being a normal person. So I challenge you, type in Google Scholar when that screen comes up, choose a couple of words related to what you're interested within music. Now, I don't know, what might it be? It might be jazz quartets. Type jazz quartets, see what comes up. You'll be amazed. The idea of research and taking on board some of these new skills does not have to be as daunting once you know how to do it. Because I bet within about 3 seconds, you're going to have more resources than you knew existed just by typing a few words. So, new opportunities for performance and assessment. I'm calling them opportunities instead of obligations or requirements, because actually everything should be thought of as an opportunity. I've mentioned you're going to have some required classes, and you're going to have to do things for the classes. Those are the hoops we all have to jump through. And yes, there has to be assessment, because people have to show that actually benchmarked you've achieved a certain standard, because otherwise they're not going to give you that degree at the end. We need to know that everybody who gets a degree at the end has earned it, and they have passed a certain set of staging points. But have you ever thought of performance as an assessment? And I don't just mean performance. You might be playing in a studio gig. You might be playing as an ensemble in a concert, and that ends up being your performance assessment. You might find that you're doing a solo performance in a local church. You might find that you're doing something you've composed, and you might not have even thought you were a composer. Sometimes you'll be performing in the middle of something else. So for one of those classes I'm teaching, the options for assessment, they can either write an essay, or they can stand up, do a talk about different pieces of music from that period, and they're required to use demonstrations of particular songs that they've chosen. It's another skill to be able to talk and perform right in a row. That can be useful. It can be useful in the future when you're performing your own concerts to interface with your audience and talk to the community, because actually understanding what you're hearing in music is very important. So your personal development is one of the key things to think about. Remember, these university courses, the conservatoire courses, they are for you. So you will be required to do things, but I want you to think, go back to that dream. What do you want to do? What are the things you really enjoy? Because actually, if you're only doing what you're told to do, you're not going to put nearly the effort and the care and the devotion into it as if it's something that comes from you. So think about this. Whether it's here, we've got a jazz duo, we've got somebody performing in a concert, something of her own, whatever it is that you want to do, that's what you're after. So as you begin this journey, looking for a course, be brave. Follow what you want to do. Dream it up. Do your research. Ask questions. If you can't find the answers at first, write a letter to somebody. It doesn't take a second to write an email to someone, and at any university. Once you found the course, I'm sure you can Google who are the staff, and you can just drop someone a note. People are very happy to answer questions, because there is no greater thing than for a teacher to see somebody who's really excited develop into something beyond what they thought they could be. I hope you find the course for you. Thanks very much.